So, listen, that was fun, good times, but let's get into the meat of what we do around here and jump into the news. This week, a Marion County court heard the final arguments in a case alleging the state's near total abortion ban violates the religious freedom of Hoosiers whose faith compels them to terminate pregnancies that endanger the life of the mother. ACLU Indiana represented the plaintiffs in this case, while the Attorney General's office defended the state's medical licensing board and other defendants. The underlying lawsuit was filed in September of 2022, right after this abortion ban was passed. It claims that the ban imposes a substantial burden on the religious practice of a particular group of plaintiffs whose faiths permit or even require abortion under circumstances broader than those allowed by the statute. The ACLU asked the court to convert a preliminary injunction into a permanent injunction, protecting the remaining individual plaintiffs. These are currently two anonymous women of different faiths, as well as a certified class, Hoosiers Jews for Choice, ensuring that the state cannot enforce the abortion ban against them in ways that conflict with their sincerely held religious beliefs. Now, Ross, this is a legal case, so I'm glad to have an attorney here. I want to get your legal mind to weigh in on this. Do you think this is going to stand? Was this a good way for the plaintiffs to challenge this law? What do you think?
Well, I think you have two questions. I mean, the first is, should it? And the second is, will it? Which in this day and age are not necessarily the same thing. It's really interesting to go back and look at RFRA, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, that was originally a federal law that was put into place specifically to protect minority religions, and most specifically the use of peyote by Native American tribes, that they were being busted by the feds for their religious practices. And so the Congress, wanting to help this religious minority, created RFRA. Of course, it was then hijacked both at the federal level and the state level. I mean, the only people who ever get discriminated against are evangelical Christians. So obviously the purpose now of RFRA is to protect the downtrodden evangelical Christians, which should really have a hard time. So this really goes back, in my opinion, to the original intent of Religious Freedom Restoration Act, to protect the minority from the majority. I think if you're going to be honest, if you're going to follow the letter of the law, it should be granted. But once politics enters into it, and believe me, unfortunately, politics enters into appellate decisions more than we would like to think. I think it would be interesting, and it's also ultimately a federal question, which could even ultimately be overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court. So it will be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win at the trial court level. They should. You know, the law seems pretty clear there. But again, it's going to be a political decision, as so many of these things are.
Cindy, it would be wrong of me to bring up this case and not ask a woman her opinion on it.
I was really excited when they filed the case, and as somebody who has had to have medical care during a pregnancy early on, and I was not able to access that care because we had major storms in our community that knocked out the power to the hospital. Oh, wow. I've been through a situation where, you know, I'm dealing with the loss of a pregnancy on my own. Until 2022, when that law was passed, I think that was my 53rd birthday that happened. Every storm we had, I would think about women who might have to go through what I went through, because it was harrowing. I mean, it was so. Now it's not just because of a natural disaster or a storm or something else. It is everyday life for women. And it's unconscionable that we're in this position. So I'm very excited by this lawsuit. I've been watching it. I've been keeping my fingers crossed that it will hold and maybe change the way our legislators look at the issue, because it's really stripping women of their autonomy, their bodily autonomy, and that's really the heart of it. So in any way that we can get back to that and get it back to that bodily autonomy question and whose it is, I think is where we need to be.
Yeah, Derek, listen, whatever comes of this case, I think brilliant use of the Republicans' own sort of toolbox, right? I mean, the RFRA in Indiana that was passed, that was a Mike Pence job, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember it was very unpopular at the time, and they still rammed it through, of course. But wouldn't it be ironic if the people of the state of Indiana used Mike Pence's tool to re-legalize abortion?
I think it would be awesome. Pretty much going, hey, it came back and bit you in the backside. That's the best way that we can get back at some of these, is show them how crazy the law was to begin with.
Yeah, it really is. Again, I think ironic is the total word, and it may bite them in the ass. And listen, this is not the only Republican decision that they've made in our state the last several years that could come back to bite them in the ass. Stick a pin in that. We'll talk about that more with this redistricting question in a little bit.